Subscribe to our channel and also press the bell icon to never miss an update from Kautilya's Fincast.
Welcome to Kautilya's Fincast for May 1st to 10th, 2021.
Let's begin with corporate news.
SR Group has set up an exclusive 100-bed COVID care center, equipped with oxygen support at Devbhoomi Dwarka district of Gujarat. The facility will be operated by the Kautilya Civil Hospital. MasterCard has donated $8.9 million to a New York-based non-profit body, American India Foundation, to install 2,000 portable beds in India, which is reeling from a deadly wave of the COVID-19. Ola Electric is looking at taking its electric scooter to international markets, including countries like France, Italy and Germany this fiscal. Given the acute shortage of medical oxygen in the country, state-run Oil and Natural Gas Corporation has floated an international tender to procure 1 lakh oxygen concentrators. Apollo Global Management Incorporated agreed to pay about $5 billion to acquire Yahoo and AOL from Verizon Communications Incorporated as the wireless company exits its ill-fated foray into the media business. Apple's new update stops apps from tracking user activity on iPhones via cookies. Experts have said the feature could significantly affect Facebook's business, which relies heavily on advertising through said cookies. Paytm announced that Paytm Foundation will be setting up oxygen plants in 12 to 13 cities. These oxygen plants would be directly installed at hospitals, which would serve the oxygen needs for the entire hospital. Reliance Industries Limited is expanding its presence in the pharma sector and has operationalized 114 pharmacies. The company has started a pilot for hyperlocal delivery in Bengaluru. Stockle, a platform that enables Indian investors to trade in listed US securities, has set itself $1 billion assets under management as its next target, as the firm expands its presence to Southeast Asia and Eastern Europe. Apple launched a new position for a paid advertisement on the App Store search page, which will pop up at the top of the suggested apps list. It is adding another potential revenue generator for its niche ads business. State-owned oil and gas firms are setting up pressure swing adsorption medical oxygen generation plants at 100 locations to help meet the oxygen need in the country. Paytm has launched COVID-19 Vaccine Finder, a platform which aims to help citizens check the availability of vaccination slots on its mini app store. Amazon is pausing plans for its annual sale Prime Day in Canada and India due to concerns about COVID-19. The pause won't affect Prime Day in the US, which is scheduled for an undisclosed day in June. Angel Broking has said that the directors of the company have approved the setting up of a new line of business of asset management company subject to the necessary statutory approvals required from various regulators. The Housing Development Finance Corporation Limited is required to reduce its shareholding in HDFC Ergo to 50% or below as per an RBI directive. Avenue Supermarts Limited, which owns and operates supermarket chain D-Mart, reported 52.56% rise in consolidated net profit at 413.87 crore rupees in the March quarter. Delhi-based fuel delivery startup Fuel Buddy has acquired Bangalore-based on-demand fuel delivery startup My Petrol Pump, a venture owned by ANB Fuels Private Limited, for a cash and stock consideration. Maruti Suzuki India announced that the company will boost manufacturing of oxygen PSA generator plants. Maruti has joined hands with 2 NCR-based companies to boost their production of such plants. Dabur India Limited announced the launch of a pain relief spray under the existing Dabur Rheumatil pain relieving brand that is used for joint aches. Wealth management startup Grow, which started operations through WhatsApp groups 5 years ago, recently turned a unicorn, riding the growth in middle-class incomes and the large-scale shift to online investing.
Let's begin with market news.
World's biggest cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, surged more than 10% on the last day of April to erase most of the losses for the month, while Ether continued its fine form to top the $2,850 level. A section of mutual fund houses feared that market regulator SEBI's new framework on compensation will adversely affect the key employee cash flow and make it difficult to retain talent. Stocks of hotel companies are at weekly highs, possibly due to mass vaccination drive. Hotels and restaurants being allowed to continue with home delivery, as well as being turned into quarantine centers. Metal stocks prices hit multi-year highs. The Nifty Metal Index has soared 58% since the union budget in February, becoming the biggest sectoral gainer in the period. Snapping 6-month buying spree, foreign investors turned net sellers in April and pulled out 9,659 crore from Indian equities, spooked by the intense second wave of coronavirus and its fallout on the economy. S&P Dow Jones Indices LLC went live with 3 cryptocurrency indices that have been designed to measure the performance of a selection of crypto assets listed on recognized and open exchanges. SEBI directed Akriti Nirmati and its 2 individuals to refund the money raised from investors without complying with the regulatory norms. Indian healthcare stocks including drug makers, hospitals and laboratories gained after RBI announced a special liquidity window to ease lending to sectors participating in tackling the COVID crisis. Bitcoin-focused firm Galaxy Digital Holdings Limited has agreed to buy BitGo Incorporated for $1.2 billion in cash and stock, the first $1 billion deal in the cryptocurrency industry. FIIs turned net sellers of Indian shares for the first time in 6 months in April amid concerns that the deadly second wave of COVID-19 and localized lockdowns will derail the country's economic recovery. Dow Jones Industrials hit a record high, as economically sensitive stocks rose after an upbeat weekly jobless claims report, while vaccine makers fell as President Joe Biden backed plans to waive patents on COVID-19 shots. Berkshire Hathaway share price has hit over $421,000 per Class A share price, that is forcing Nasdaq to soon upgrade its computer system as it is close to the highest level that Nasdaq can handle on its computer screen. Market capitalization of BSE-listed companies touched a record 211 trillion rupees, tracking recent gains in the equities market. These companies saw their market capitalization jump by 4.4 trillion rupees. With an aim to boost listing of startups, SEBI has notified a slew of relaxations to norms, including reducing holding period for pre-issue capital and allowing discretionary allotment to eligible investors. A massive 133% jump in the proceeds from IPOs has led the value of mergers and acquisitions increasing by 8% to $32.3 billion across 437 deals till end April. Foreign investors have pulled out 5,936 crore rupees from the Indian equities in the first week of May amid worries over the intense second wave of coronavirus infection and its fallout on the economy. Debt mutual funds witnessed an outflow of 84,202 crore rupees in 3 months ended March 2021, with liquid schemes contributing 56% of the withdrawal. The rise of the cryptocurrency Dogecoin has reached a new level after Dogecoin was used to pay for lunar satellite mission with SpaceX. European governments are acting to limit hedge funds' participation in the market for new sovereign bond issuance, following a surge in demand from the firms.
Let's begin with economy news.
With the second wave of COVID pandemic spreading across the country, the expected double-digit growth is now in peril. Indian economy was expected to grow by 12 to 13% in 2021 to 2022. The second wave of COVID-19 infections is spreading across the country and state after state is announcing restrictions. The outbreak is no longer concentrated in a few states or even in urban areas as was earlier thought. The $300 billion Maharashtra economy went into a weekend lockdown on 4th April with nighttime curfew, in an attempt to control the second wave of COVID-19 pandemic which is ravaging the economies. India is suffering the world's worst outbreak of COVID-19 cases, with deaths hitting and new cases above 350,000 daily. Pressure is building on PM Narendra Modi to impose strict lockdowns to stem its spread. The centre must encourage the retail sector to provide more jobs to youth in the backdrop of an unprecedented financial crisis brought about by the second wave of COVID-19. The second wave of COVID-19 and resultant localized lockdowns have impacted over 75 lakh jobs, taking the unemployment rate to a 4-month high of 8%. The Centre for Monitoring Indian Economy. The Centre for Monitoring Indian Economy, national unemployment rate in the country has touched a 4-month high of nearly 8% in April. In contrast, the national unemployment rate in March was 6.5%. India is suffering the world's worst outbreak of cases, deaths crossing 2.2 lakh and new cases above 3.5 lakh daily. This has led to demand for imposition of nationwide strict lockdowns to stem spreads. The RBI asked banks to give more time to some borrowers to repay their loans, among other support measures, after another lockdown was imposed in several states amid second waves. The economic expansion could take a hit of 1.2% under a moderate state during the COVID-19 crisis, leading to GDP growth of 9.8% for fiscal year ended March 2022. From day one, lockdown started showing results as thousands of people lost their jobs. Unemployment was at its peak. All working places including factories, mines, and private firms were shut. The US-based rating agency in March had an 11% GDP growth forecast for India for April 2021-March 2022 fiscal on account of a fast economic reopening and fiscal stimulus. Many economists are cutting their forecasts for the current fiscal year in the given crisis situation as rising unemployment and dwindling savings dim the chances of a double-digit growth. S&P had seen Indian economy growing by 11% in fiscal year to March 2022, saw GDP growth rate dropping to 9.8% under moderate scenario, where infections peak in May. The RBI governor announced new loan relief and 500 million Indian rupees injection of liquidity to help Indian economy endure a flood of COVID cases that could deal a setback to the country's nascent recoveries. The RBI has announced other measures targeted at helping India's micro, small and medium-sized businesses, including allowing certain small borrowers to extend their repayment period. India's close neighbors in South and Southeast Asia, with high population density and a great number of people living in poverty, have been overwhelmed by India's deepening coronavirus crisis. In a setback for India, IMF has said that it will revisit its forecast model for India's growth pegged at 12.5% later, due to the rising COVID-19 cases. India Incorporated's revenue growth is projected at 15% for financial year 2022 on a low base of 2 years in base case and moderate scenario. However, in an alternate severe scenario, growth is pegged at 10 to 12%. The number of people registering for jobs under MGNREGS has increased 40 million in April from 36 million in March 2021. This rise in demand for rural jobs can be attributed to the second wave.